What is up, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another superstar from the PFL. Shane Burgos joins us on the program. He fights Yamato Nishikawa. Fights coming up on the third round of these fights that the PFL is giving us back to back to back on ESPN. He's on the main card, 10 p.m. Eastern, and the date will be June 23rd. Welcome back, Shane. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me back.
All right, great to have you back. Hey, the first fight didn't go your way, but I liked when you faced the media. You poured your heart and soul out there. You could tell how much these fights mean to you, the W's, the losses, the performance.
Yeah.
Man, you were really shook up, but at the same time, you said there's only one way, and that's just to get back in there. So this is where the PFL kind of pays off for you. You already knew that it was going to be June 23rd, and now you have your opponent. How are you feeling? How long did it really take you to kind of like just get that bitter taste out of your mouth that weekend?
It's still a bitter taste in my mouth right now when I think back to it. But like you took the words out of my mouth. Like literally, I was doing the media and I was kind of sitting there and fucking crying about it and stuff, and I'm upset because it just felt like a very frustrating feeling. But I was like, oh shit, like. I kind of snapped like something snapped in my head where I was like, I already got my next fight booked. I'm going to go back home and take like a week off. And then I'm right back in the gym and the next one's it's already booked. I didn't have an opponent at the time, but for me to be able to just let that shit go,
mm-hmm.
that I didn't completely let it go. Like if I sit and think about it, yeah, it bothers me still, but I next guy's my mind. I'm focused on the next guy. So having that next fight already booked was actually, I didn't know how I would react to that, though that might be a little bit mentally like tiring, but after having that performance that I had, I was like, oh, man, thank God I have the next one already booked.
Now, I know losses sting to begin with, but was it something about that loss itself, being with the new organization? Like, was it anything that stood out to you more about why you were so angry and disappointed?
No, I'm not. Shit. I if anything, I was probably less angry than you guys never seen me for my other losses. That one was just a very empty feeling. It kind of feels like I got like stiff-armed, or I got like shorted of what I expected. I thought it was going to be more of a exciting fight, honestly, and I didn't get to put that performance that I wanted to put on. So it just felt like I was robbed of that, and I don't mean robbed on the scorecards at all. Obviously, he did what he had to do to win. But it felt more like I had a bad sparring session than I had a bad fight. My wife watched the entire fight, which she never really does. I think he did a good job at taking the fight out of it and making it more of a competition because it is season based. So he did a good job at just running the clock and holding me in those positions. I thought he'd be more offensive with his ground and pound, or not ground and pound, but I mean, trying to strike when he had me in those positions and trying to submit. I fully expected that, but like I said, I can't be too salty about it. He did what he had to do to win. It just sucks that that's the way it went because we were the main event. I really wanted to put on a fucking show. The last 15, 20 seconds that was the exciting part of the fight. But
right.
Yeah, maybe if I wish it was 5 rounds, but it is what it is. I let it go and I'm focused on the next one.
So let me ask you one last thing about it. I've often said, and I said it to OAM himself, man, I wasn't his biggest fan for a long time. But see, I'm a gambler too, right? I'm a fan, a media guy, and a gambler. I put it all up front so everybody knows I'm transparent. But the one thing this guy can do is win rounds. He's really, really good at that. But we've also been saying this because we've been covering the sport for almost 17 years. Guys like this and John Fitch back in the day, even GSP, they can make you better too. So do you feel like you also improved over those 15 minutes? Maybe not like necessarily by winning the scorecards or winning the fight, but little mini battles that we don't see that that, hey, stuff you worked on is going to make you better?
Man, that's very beautifully said and very that just goes to show what kind of a reporter I don't know if I'll call you a reporter at that point, what kind of fan you are, because yeah, you would notice that. Yeah, as soon as I got back to the gym, we were working, being in those positions, and yeah, like you said, I think it did make me better. It sucks I had to come with an L, but it is what it is, and all I can do is just learn from it, take it as a learning experience, and I definitely learned from it. I feel like I've gotten so much better in those positions, and it's only been a couple weeks. I mean, we fought a month ago. So yeah, I'm just going to take it as a learning lesson and not take it as an L. But obviously it is one at the end of the day.
Right. And right now, are you happy with your decision in terms of PFL, man, they're doing some big things. They just signed Francis Ngannou, Jake Paul, the pay-per-view series, all this stuff is great. But right now, how's your body feel? Did it get a chance to decompress from that fight, rest, and now you just put it through another grueling fight camp? So, like, do you like that turnaround and staying busy? Because you ask for it and they give it to you.
Yeah, no, yeah. First off, 100% happy with my decision. I can't stress that enough. And I'm not just saying that because I am here. I'm saying that because my bank account looks nice. my family is taken care of. Yeah, I'm very happy with my decision. I'm happy that they just signed Cedric. I can't remember I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but the world champion kickboxer at welterweight. And just signed Francis Ngannou, like the biggest signing in MMA history. Like, yeah, super happy with my decision to go to the PFL. And then yes, my body. To answer that part of the question, my body's more. It's good now, but it was more beat up from the training camp than it was from the actual fight because, like I said, it wasn't much of a fight. It wasn't like the bangers that I'm usually in. Like after one of my fights, I usually have bumps and bruises basically everywhere. So after that fight, I really was fine to get right back into the gym. So that made it easier to get that quick turnaround. And like I said, let that last one go and just focus on the next one. So yeah, if anything, the mental side I think is harder going training camp to training camp more so than the physical from my last fight.
Yeah. So I know Goes has some questions for you, but I wanted to chime in. Cedric Doumbé was the guy that they just signed. Yeah. All right, Goes, what you got for Shane Burgos?
Well, I actually wanted to tap into the mental side. I find that fascinating, especially when it comes to PFL. And what I wanted to kind of touch on was when a fighter moves to a different organization. It reminds me a little bit of high school, and I'm going to explain why. That first day of freshman year, you have some faces that you recognize, but there's a lot of new faces, right? And the emotions are a little different. But the next year, your sophomore year, first day isn't so bad, right? Like you kind of are familiar with things. And then junior year, even more, it feels like home. What was it like for you in what I would consider like your freshman first day? No matter what, I know it's a fight, but were the emotions a little weird, seeing all these new faces, these new routines, new music, new walkout, all that stuff? What was that like for you?
Honestly, I thought it would be weirder or more uncomfortable because obviously I'm used to being in the UFC for the last 6 years, but it was pretty seamless. Like everybody that I worked with was awesome. All the PFL staff was awesome, super accommodating, and everything went super smooth. It was a very well-oiled machine. So had it not been a well-oiled machine, I think I would have felt a little bit more uncomfortable. But everything was super smooth. It was kind of weird how comfortable I was, even though it was only my first time in the UFC, in the PFL. So now going into my second one, I feel like I'll feel even more comfortable. So good question, but I was surprised at how comfortable I felt with everything.
Is it weird or strange or maybe you don't do this, but to kind of close the door on the last fight, you have a new opponent and keep those emotions from the last fight as a separate entity, or do they carry over into this a little bit, even though it's a different opponent?
Yeah, different opponent, but I would be lying if I said they don't carry over a little bit at least. You know what I mean? Because I hated that last one, obviously because I lost, but it wasn't an exciting fight, and that pisses me off. That really irks me. Like I pride myself in being an exciting fighter, being somebody that the fans always want to watch, and that wasn't. I wouldn't want to watch that. That sucked, man. It wasn't fun. It wasn't exciting. Maybe the last 25 seconds were exciting, but yeah, not for a 15-minute fight. I was pissed about that. So going to the next one, yeah, I am carrying a little bit of that, like, but I don't need to carry too much of it because I know the guy that I'm fighting, he's going into this. He's in the same position I am. We both need a win. We both need a win by finish, basically. So I know he's not going to be coming into that one looking to stall and just run the clock. I fully expect him to try to take me out, which that's what I want. I want that kind of fight. I want that guy that's going to come in here, try to kill me, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So I'm bringing a little bit of that into it, but not too much because, like I said, we're in this position where we both need to finish.
Shane, what do you think going into this next fight, right as this fight is about to start? What do you think will be some of the last thoughts that enter your head? Some of the things that the coaches will tell you. There's a little switch that flips, right, for MMA fighters. What happens when yours flips?
For this one, I know it's just going to be the referee's going to say go, and the first thing that's going to come into my mind is kill. that sounds a little bit psychopathic, I guess, but that's what I'm going to be thinking about, because I'm in this position where everyone was asking me for my last fight, are you thinking about the point system? And I was like, no, I'm not thinking about the points at all. Fuck the points. I'm not thinking about the points. Now I'm in the position where I have to think about the points, because if I want to make it to the playoffs, I need the quick 6 or the whatever the 5 points one is called. Like I need the finish. So yeah, 100%. I'm keeping that in my mind.
Shane, so let me ask you this. As you get older, they say MMA fighters go from being checker players to chess players, because you acquired a lot of new knowledge, a lot of new tools, and sometimes you're processing them as you're fighting. You're looking for openings and seeing things or whatever. I've been told that by many fighters that grace this game and won belts, and sometimes you almost have too much knowledge and you don't react, and then the younger fighter sometimes can beat you to the punch. Anyway, if you look at your record, your latest wins, you do have one first-round win going back to the UFC. It was a submission. But your first 7 fights, holy cow, you were wally-mopping everybody, either in the first or second. So do you almost have to be reckless Shane, younger Shane maybe, where you were more of a checker player versus the chess player that can figure you out and within 15 or 25 minutes go for the opening and do it because of that urgency against the clock?
Yeah. Again, very well said. Like, I have to go back to being that quick finisher because I need a quick finish to make it to the playoffs. So it's you gotta find the balance between being smart about it, but not being too. You kind of got to be reckless, but you can't be too reckless because then you get left open for getting hit with some dumb shit, and then you give the fight away. But I need to go out there and I kind of gotta be a little reckless. I gotta intelligently bring the fight and make it as violent as possible from the first bell. There really is no time for the feeling out process. Like, you gotta just go. You gotta step on the gas and just keep my foot on the gas the entire time until I break him, and that's exactly what I plan on doing. I have to do this. It's all or nothing. It's win or die. That's how I'm looking at it.
Right. Okay. So a couple more here from me. Masvidal's knee against Askren. Or do you remember back in the day when Fabricio Verdum would just run and do that kung fu kick? I think he had Travis Brown with it.
Yeah.
Those are examples of fights where the Masvidal got the quick finish. Verdum didn't finish him at that moment, but he hurt him. But then last weekend we see Gabe Green in the UFC, and he's fighting Brian Battle. He went after him, and he had probably an advantage if he had taken him to the ground, but instead he's throwing. He kind of hurts Battle. Battle comes back and boom, hooks him. So that one didn't pay off. But when you've been watching these fights at home as a fan, what have you thought of those types of things, which is what we're going to apply to your fight that's coming up? But as you're watching them, have you thought, wow, there's something to that, or that's not my style? What do you think of that?
Yeah, who doesn't want that Masvidal flying knee right off the bat? Get in, get out, get paid, go home, no injuries. Everybody wants that. Or like even the Verdum flying sidekick. Like, even though he didn't finish him with it, that's on his highlight reel forever. That looks awesome. Chris Wade did it too in the PFL. That looks awesome. But then you got the Gabe Green, where Gabe Green came out hot and he just got caught right off the bat. So you got to find a balance between being reckless but being intelligently reckless. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to bring intelligent violence. And Gabe Green didn't even really do anything wrong. Like, he just had his hand down for a little bit. It wasn't even like it was all the way down here. It's just a little bit under his chin, and he just got caught. And that's the name of the game when you're playing with 4-ounce gloves. Like, my coach always says that a monkey can get lucky. Like, you know what I mean? Anybody on any given day can win a fight when you have 2 4-ounce gloves, which is basically bare fist. So, but like I said, who doesn't want that quick finish? Everybody wants it. So does that mean I'm going to go out there and run in throwing flying knee? Maybe it means that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I was gonna press my luck and go even old school, but I wasn't sure if you would remember Don Fry in Pride. Ooh, that was a hockey fight. That was a good one, man. They went at it from the beginning.
Come on, man! Don't disrespect me. Of course, I remember that.
Well, I wasn't sure because you're a younger fella. That was probably like 20 years ago. So,
I'm 32 years old. I've been watching MMA since I was years old. Yeah, I've been watching this sport for a long time, and all the fights that came before me. Like when I stopped, I went back and I binge watched a bunch of UFC Unleashed, all the Pride DVDs I had, man. Like I fucking love this sport. Like I eat, sleep, breathe. I love fighting. It's the only sport I watch. I don't watch any other sports. Boxing, I'll watch the big fights, but it's all MMA, Bellator, PFL, UFC. I love this sport.
All right, I may have disrespected you. You're right, but now I'm gonna push back, Mr. Old School Shane Burgos here.
Right.
Okay, here's a fight that ended quick. I'm gonna give you the winner, but if you can give me the loser, I'll pour some of this on my head right now, and that'll prove that you're definitely old school. If you lose, you pour a little bit of that one over your head. Deal?
Deal.
Remco Pardo. Do you remember who he beat? Who he finished? Quick.
Remco
Pardo.
That's a UFC fighter?
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you give me the UFC number? What number was it?
It was within the first 10.
No. Like UFC 1, 2, 3, one of those.
I don't know. Probably like 6 or 7 or something like that. There you go. All right, I'll take it.
Who was it?
No, so yeah, Remco Pardo, he was a Dutch guy, and he got a guy named Orlando Wheat on the ground, and boom, just elbowed him. Much like
Gary
who was the guy the guy that coaches Brian Ortega?
Paul Herrera.
Paul Herrera. He got hammered by Gary Goodrich too.
That one.
Those are some good ones from back in the day. We're just having fun, man. We love you. We love watching you compete. We can't wait for this fight because the stakes are high. He needs to do what you need to do. So I know you guys are going to be cracking on ESPN. So thank you for the time, Shane, as always. Hopefully you had some fun like we did with you.
No problem. I did have fun. And anytime you guys want to do like a Q&A, not Q&A, but a trivia night or something like that, hit up. I love this shit.
Nice.
Awesome.
Right.
Count on it. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Guys, enjoy the fight.